What's up, everybody? It's Jordan, and welcome to the Sports to Hines Show. Today's episode, I have a special guest joining me, Shawn Kiernan. Thanks so much for joining the show, Shawn.
Thanks for having me, Jordan. How are you?
I do really good. Excited to talk about this episode. So today is Tuesday, February 9th, and we're just 2 days, after the Super Bowl. Lots to talk about. Obviously, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeating the Chiefs 31-9. Going into the game, we'll go ahead and start talking about it. Going into the game, what were kind of your expectations for the outcome and for both teams?
So I had this game just about the majority of the people being a much closer game than what we saw on the field. I had the Bucks as like a score prediction. I had the Bucks winning 34-31. That was the final score I had. Um, just for a quick fact here, I mean, that's the first time in Patrick Mahomes' career so far that Kansas City hasn't gotten the end zone. That's the first game, and it's on the biggest stage that happened. So that's just what tells you right there that Tampa Bay's defense was a huge factor in this one and deserves a lot of props in this one.
Yeah, going into the game, I had the Buccaneers winning 27-20. I thought it was going to be a little bit less scoring than some people thought. But to me, you look at polls and everything, the majority of people, had Kansas City winning. And, they were even picked to win by 3, which, I mean, when you're the home team, you automatically get like a 3-point advantage. So basically, if it was at like just a random place, or they were be picked to win by 6 because they're the road team. The home team gets a 3-point advantage when it comes to spreads. But honestly, I really don't understand why the Chiefs were picked to win this game. I don't really get why so many people picked Kansas City to win. I mean, I know Patrick Mahomes is a great player and everything. He's a top 2 quarterback in the league. He's going to be a future Hall of Famer. He's only played, a couple of seasons, but
Crazy.
It absolutely is. But at the same time, we're talking about Tom Brady. It's not like we're talking about like Nick Foles or someone like that who's like had a couple of good playoff games. Talking about Tom Brady, who up until the Super Bowl had as many Super Bowl wins as every single NFL franchise, and it's just I was really surprised. Just so many people did not really trust Brady and the Buccaneers. Honestly, in the playoffs, I picked the Buccaneers to lose to the Saints, and I picked the Buccaneers to lose to the Packers.
I had them. I was with you with Green Bay. I had them beating the Saints, but I had them losing to Green Bay.
And it's at that point, it's like he's already beat 2 first-ballot Hall of Famers in the playoffs, not including the Super Bowl. And this Buccaneers team, when they played the Chiefs back in November, since that game, they've not lost. And to me, I was really, really surprised so many people picked the Chiefs as opposed to the Buccaneers.
And you have to remember this too. I think this is a lesson for just about everybody because you do not bet, like for those people who like bet money on games and stuff like that, you do not go against Brady, especially as an underdog. That's not a smart decision to do. And pretty much as soon as that happened, Brady was like, "Oh, Casey's favored to win this game. I'll just do my thing," and that's it. That's all he had to do. He was just like, "I have the experience over anybody. No one has experience like me in this on the biggest stage, so I'm just gonna play my game." And that's what he simply did that. And at age 43, Jesus, I mean, that's insane. This guy, I can guarantee, yeah, he's definitely coming back for the second year of his contract in Tampa, but I do think that we see him for his age 45 season. I truly believe that as well.
So, kind of talking about what we thought about, pre-game leading up to the Super Bowl. What were your, thoughts and everything, after the game and how the game actually played out?
Just a really defensively dominated game by Todd Bowles in that defense. Yes, Tom Brady got the MVP, his 5th career Super Bowl MVP, but Tampa's defense deserves just about all of it. I mean, if you want to talk about a team effort, that was a team effort by Todd Bowles' defensive unit. And in my opinion, they definitely deserve to have like MVP of that game. And I mean, when you look at Kansas City side of things, look how crucial that loss was of Eric Fisher. I mean, that came to bite them in the rear end. I mean, you didn't have your top tackle there. And that just proves to you that you need a really good offensive line, because if you don't have that, there's no way you're getting up to that game. There's no way. And like that proves to you, Mahomes, he did everything that he could, man. I never seen a quarterback like this scramble that much and just dance around and and create a play. He made a play for some guys, and they just, whether it was Kelsey who dropped the ball, Hill, Demarcus Robinson in the end zone, he just extended plays, and I just never seen that from Mahomes. That's why I was so amazed by, despite the blowout loss, I was just amazed by that because I never seen that before.
And it's one of those things, like if somebody didn't watch the game and, they see the stats, basically, a stat, just stat pattern. Oh, if his stats aren't good, that he didn't play good. That was absolutely not the case at all. You look at Patrick Mahomes, completion percentage, it was barely above 50. But I mean, he was pressured. I believe it was nearly 50% of his dropbacks. And, that one throw that he basically dove and threw, hit the guy right through the hands. That was one of the more impressive throws I've probably, ever seen. And on the stat sheet, it's going to go as an incompletion. But you watch that certain play, he was getting pressured, had no time to throw, had a sensational throw, and it's a drop. I mean, he did everything he possibly could to have a great play, but some other Chiefs players couldn't step up. Fisher being out, like you said, was a major difference. I wasn't really surprised. It was a big difference, but I did not really expect Tampa Bay's defensive unit to be that good and pressure Mahomes that much. Going into the game, I had actually Shaq Barrett winning the Super Bowl MVP because I thought he was going to get a couple of sacks. Tampa Bay ended up getting 3 sacks, but it's just Devin White, Barrett, just every single player. Their secondary played really well up until I believe the late third or fourth quarter. Tyreek Hill only had 2 catches. He ended the game with 7. But I mean, the last time these two teams played, he had 200 receiving yards just in the first quarter. And their secondary really has picked it up the last couple of weeks prior to this game. They didn't allow Michael Thomas to have a catch. They really held Devontae Adams in check. This was a just overall performance. I mean, to me, in my opinion, you look back, on this season, and I know some people are going to say, lots of people picked the Buccaneers to win the Super Bowl going into the season. I was not one of those people, and I thought they were really overrated. But looking back, I think this is one of the more impressive Super Bowl victories Brady's ever had. I know it's not. I know it wasn't a close game, and I know he didn't have to have like a fourth quarter drive or something like that. But the fact that we had all the situations throughout the NFL this year with the coronavirus, and then you go to the playoffs. Brady goes to a whole new team, whole new coaching staff, all new players, and the Washington game, they did kind of struggle in that game, but you beat the Saints. Breeze is the first ballot Hall of Famer. You beat Rodgers as the first ballot Hall of Famer, who just won the MVP, and you beat Mahomes and the Super Bowl, who's going to be a future Hall of Famer and was third on the MVP ballot this season. To me, I think this really is one of truly remarkable, and I think this is going to be one of, looking back once Brady retires, one of his best seasons of his career.
Oh, for sure. And like, especially like at the point in his career, I mean, just the age, it just proves that it doesn't matter how old he is. This guy can still play. And he doesn't like, here's the thing though, like he doesn't, if you notice throughout the game, he didn't have to rely heavily on the deep ball. He had just those go-to routes on slants, short, and then his running game, man, that's something that we wanted to see consistently throughout the regular season. We really haven't seen it until like about the tail end of it heading into the playoffs. That's when Fournette and Ronald Jones started getting going. I mean, they got going at the perfect time because Fournette had a day. Ronald Jones had I forgot his exact numbers, but I know that Jones had a decent game too.
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, we are live on YouTube, talking about the Super Bowl recap. And you mentioned Todd Bowles. He did a sensational job. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. And if the Super Bowl MVP, if it went to a coach, to me, it has to go to Todd Bowles. Everything he done, strategy wise, to make Mahomes' day difficult, to make Kansas City not even score a touchdown. They, single digit points. This was the first time Patrick Mahomes lost a game more by one possession at the starter in the NFL. Just absolutely, crazy. And, great job by Bowles. But somebody else to me that really had a great day was Buccaneers offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich. I mean, you look at the play calls, they were just phenomenal. There was one play call I didn't like. It was on the fourth down. I kind of wish they would have done a quarterback sneak there. I know it might have been a little obvious, but when it comes to quarterback sneak, Brady's really difficult to stop. But aside from that play call, I mean, I thought Leftwich did a really fantastic job. And a month or so ago, I did a video where I kind of thought the Jaguars should hire Leftwich as their next head coach because he played in Jacksonville. He's done a fantastic job with Tampa Bay. I think he's not really getting the credit he should be because it's getting overshadowed by Bruce Arians and Brady's great play. But I mean, obviously, Leftwich isn't the coach of the Jaguars, but Todd Bowles, and there were reports, possibly, Bruce Arians possibly retiring. I don't know if those are completely true, but if they are, if I'm Tampa Bay, I would totally get Todd Bowles or Byron Leftwich to be their next head coach because both of those guys, they did a fantastic job. And if they get if Bowles gets another head coach opportunity, and if Byron Leftwich will get a head coach opportunity, I think both of those guys would end up doing really, really well.
Yeah, and they definitely both of them should get another opportunity again. When you look back at Todd Bowles, his first opportunity was with the Jets, and I mean, man, that wasn't the best spot for him because they didn't put him in the best scenario to win. So that was really hard for him to adjust because a lot of people, how rough it is in the New York media. People, when you're bad, they think that you're the equivalent of the team's record. And that's what they thought of him as a coach. But meanwhile, he was a pretty solid coach. He was coaching what he was given. That's all it was. And now, for a second opportunity, if you give him, like, let's just say, if Bruce Arians, like you said, if he retires, I mean, if he gets promoted to head coach, that's a pretty damn good team still. They're the same team. And I know there's a lot of guys that are free agents like Levante David, Ndamukong Suh, Shaquille Barrett, but those guys are coming back. They're coming back. I don't see them going elsewhere. That would be crazy if they took off.
There was also a report coming out yesterday that Mike Evans is willing to take a pay cut for the guys that were free agents coming up to re-sign with the team. And it's going to be really interesting to see what Tampa Bay does. Do you think Tampa Bay has what it takes to get to the Super Bowl next season as well?
Oh, for sure. Definitely. I mean, if this is the team, if they get back a majority of their defense, or if they even all of them, I mean, they're definitely going to be up there again. They're going to be favorites again. We just have to see how this offseason plays out. And here's the thing. Their roster is only going to get better because throughout the draft, I mean, there's a lot of talent in the draft too. So their roster is going to get younger too, and it's just going to have plenty more additions to it. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. See what happens.
And there was also another report coming out yesterday that the Arizona Cardinals and Patrick Peterson, the corner who's been amazing for the past decade, they're expected to part ways. To me, I think Patrick Peterson would be an amazing signing by if the Buccaneers get him, and I think it's a good possibility because I know the Buccaneers secondary was pretty good Sunday. It was phenomenal, and they have lots of young guys. I think Peterson would be a really nice guy, be the veteran leader of their secondary. I think may take a pay cut to maybe win a Super Bowl. And kind of the reason I'm saying this is because, Bruce Arians was the head coach while Patrick Peterson played with the Cardinals, and Byron Leftwich was the Cardinals as well. And I think the connections there may have a big implication on Peterson would sign with Tampa Bay. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Peterson would be in Tampa Bay next season.
Yeah, I just realized about those connections, and with Todd Bowles going back to Arizona too. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised about that. But that would be. Could you imagine that having that veteran of a leader, and then you go off of it, and then you have Antoine Winfield Jr. in that secondary as well. You have I'm forgetting his name. I think he's another rookie. What is his name?
There's Jamal
Dean. Yeah. It was Dean. Yep, Dean. I'm thinking of. Yep. That's another young player that I really like. So having Patrick Peterson there and that secondary to help those young guys, they would only get better.
So, you mentioned the Buccaneers more than likely being back to the Super Bowl. I agree. I mean, they're going to sign guys for cheap, and they're going to be able to get these guys for cheap. People are going to want to sign, contracts that don't have much money with it to possibly win a Super Bowl. Guys like Peterson, who have played a long time and will take a pay cut to have a chance. Maybe a guy, I don't really think it'll happen, but a guy maybe like AJ Green, who's been injury prone, has not really been with a good franchise, go there, win a Super Bowl and cap off careers or something like that. But do you think the Kansas City Chiefs have what it takes to go back to the Super Bowl too?
Yeah, they definitely do. Just because of that game that they got blown out in, that doesn't. They're still a really good team. I mean, they only had one loss on the season and went headed into that game. So I think that they have a good shot to get back there. Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he's a really talented quarterback. We all know about him, and Casey's always going to be there. As long as that coaching staff's still there, that offensive unit sticks together. If their defense can get a little bit better, they might need somebody in their secondary because I could see that already. But if they add to that, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to be up there. I mean, they only lost one game, but at the same time, one kind of deceiving part is it was either 7 or 8 games in a row. They only won by one possession. If they don't have a great quarterback, I mean, they have a top two quarterback. You lose 2 or 3 of those games. I mean, that's still 13-3, 12-4. That's still really impressive. But that's makes it more interesting when it comes to playoff time and home field advantage and everything like that. But talking about the Chiefs and the Buccaneers, who would you say maybe at this point? I mean, it's only like 363 days to the Super Bowl, but who would you say would? I mean, this is going to change a lot through the draft and free agency, but as of right now, who would you say would be the biggest threat to those teams for them not to be in the Super Bowl?
All right, so you would have to say coming out of the AFC, I think Buffalo is going to be up there again. I think they're going to make a lot of noise, and then in the AFC again, I think Baltimore is going to have a huge bounce back year. Ravens, I think, are a team to watch as threats. But let's see in the NFC now. Yeah, you got Green Bay and Rodgers for sure. But who's another team I really like? I'm interested to see what the Rams do. I think with Stafford, I'm really interested to see what the Rams can do now. They're in that type of scenario where it's with the Stafford trade, it's win it all or it's a bust type move, just like the James Harden deal at Brooklyn. I mean, you gave up a lot of your future, and they've done it in years past. And I mean, now they gotta capitalize and win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, to me in the AFC, you got to put the Bills up there because Josh Allen has been improving each season. The first year he was horrible. Second year he had a good year, and I mean obviously this past season he was second in the MVP voting. And something else to keep an eye on with Buffalo, they got to keep Brian Dayball, and I think that's really going to help Josh Allen, especially next season because he's been a huge part of Josh Allen's development. So I would put Buffalo up there, and I know not many viewers would like this because I mean most of viewers are Bengals fans. I would put the Browns up there. I mean, they won a playoff game in Kevin Stefanski's first season. I mean, if it wasn't for that fumble, they could have ended up being the Super Bowl champs, defending Super Bowl champs at that time, and the Chiefs. They are a lot better than people give them credit for. I mean, Odell Beckham was out for the season for the majority of the year. You don't know what they're going to do. I mean, if he comes back, it'd be interesting if they would, maybe trade him possibly, or if he comes back and really helps Cleveland. This year, I was really impressed with Cleveland. I think them and Buffalo could be Super Bowl contenders representing the AFC. But in the NFC, I don't really figure the Packers would be as good because Aaron Rodgers had an MVP season. Aaron Jones, I believe he's a free agent. And the odds of Devontae Adams having a season like he just did, I wouldn't say is likely unless they sign, some top wide receivers or re-sign, Aaron Jones along with that. Get re-sign Aaron Jones and get somebody like Kenny Galladay. Unless something like that happens, I really don't, see the Packers being up there again.
Mm.
But to me, I mean, you mentioned the Rams. The Rams are 100% the biggest threat, and not just the NFC, but in the whole NFL in general. To me, who can maybe defeat the Buccaneers in the NFC Championship game and represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. The Rams this season, they were 11-5. They had 3 one-possession losses. If you have Stafford, you at least win one of the 2 of those games because you have a greater quarterback. Stafford's much better than Goff. Um, I agree with what you said there. It's basically Super Bowl or bust. And I think this trade, I know lots of people think like the Lions, absolutely robbed the Rams. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that was a kind of risky trade. It's a much better trade than people think. You win
Mm-hmm.
with your quarterback. Matthew Stafford's one of the most underrated quarterbacks right now. He's one of the most underrated quarterbacks of all time. I don't know, it might sound kind of bold, but look who he's had. He had Megatron for a little while, but he's continued to put up, amazing numbers, and he's played really good. But he's just been on a horrible team. But to me, I mean, you look at Sean McVay. He had Jared Goff throwing for 4,500 yards and be really, really good. I mean, I think Stafford will easily throw for over 5,000. Wouldn't shock me at all if he broke the NFL passing record this upcoming season. They have Cooper Kupp, they have Robert Woods. Those are 2 really, really underrated receiver duos. I mean, they're really, really nice receivers who are underrated. And they also have like the best defense in the NFL. I mean, Aaron Donald, Ramsey, and I mean, people may say, well, they can't beat the Buccaneers. They already did once this season on Monday Night Football. So I think it's definitely possible. The Rams could represent the NFC. Right now, I am going to still stick with the Buccaneers. But to me, the biggest threat for the Buccaneers to repeat the Super Bowl is the Rams.
Yep, I definitely agree with that.
So, there's been lots of talk the past couple of days, and it's a stupid question because I've seen it on the Pat McAfee show, I've seen it on tons of other things. Once Tom Brady retires, do you think the number 12 should be retired and the whole NFL?
Hmm. I'm gonna say yes. I would love to see that just because of I mean no one's gonna ever get to that kind of level again. Who's gonna appear in 10 Super Bowls? No one's gonna do that again. And he's won. I mean, it's just an amazing record, a 7-3 record. And I mean, I could see them definitely retiring his number throughout the league.
To me, I mean, I don't really like it because let's say Aaron Rodgers lasts longer than Tom Brady. I mean, I don't. I mean, you're not going to change Rodgers' number. You're not going
Yeah,
to.
you're gonna have to actually wait until everyone's done with their careers. I didn't even think of that first. I should have clarified about that. Was that if you're gonna do that, you would have to wait until like Aaron Rodgers' career is over too, or guys who actually wear that number 12, like who are true legends wearing that number 12. I mean, you can't just take that away from somebody. So you just have to wait till all those guys' careers are over.
I personally don't really like it. I understand, Brady's the best, quarterback of all time, and I just, I mean, to retire a number, I don't think it's necessary. But to me, I think changing the Super Bowl MVP trophy name to like the Tom Brady Award or something like that. I mean, he has 5 Super Bowl MVPs. That's more Super Bowl MVPs, and pretty much every single team has Super Bowls except for the Patriots and the Steelers. He has more Super Bowl MVPs than Joe Montana, the closest quarterback who has as many Super Bowls as him. To me, I don't really like, retiring at number 12 in the NFL, but I'm 100% all for changing the Super Bowl MVP name to like the Tom Brady Award or something like that.
That's too funny. Could you imagine that?
I mean, it's not likely, but that'd be pretty cool to see happen. So speaking of Brady, the last topic is, I mean, with him winning his 7th Super Bowl, that means he has more championships than Michael Jordan. He has more championships in every single NFL franchise. And you think
Mhm.
of athletes through different sports. I mean, Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, different people like that. Babe Ruth, Michael Jordan, LeBron. I mean, Tom Brady. There's so many amazing athletes in different sports.
Mhm.
But do you think, like, through all the sports, Tom Brady is the GOAT of all the GOATs?
Uh, I don't think so. just because of the fact when you talk about like championships, I mean, if it's just like regarding championships, you gotta throw in Bill Russell in that. I mean, the guy's won 11. So if I wouldn't say Brady's the GOAT of just in sports in general, I wouldn't go that far. But he is on a Mount Rushmore. If you had to make like a Mount Rushmore of GOATs in sports, he's definitely up. He's on there for me, but he's not number one.
So would you say Bill Russell would be your number one?
I would put Bill Russell as my number one. I know people are going to be like, well, he's played in a completely different era in the NBA. Yeah, that's pretty obvious he did. But I mean, who can say that they won 11 championships? No one else could say that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's like the best of all the sports. But I don't really agree with Russell. Russell is definitely up there. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if people talk about, Michael Jordan, and I mean, people, I don't know if you're a LeBron fan or not, but people talk about like LeBron's better than Jordan because the
Yeah, I
rings.
hear
And
that. I
maybe he
hear that
doesn't have
debate
as
all the time.
many.
Yep.
But I mean, you look at Russell, he has more than both of them. But I mean, that could be a completely different topic. We could be talking about that for hours. But you look at Brady. I mean, he has more than every single NFL team, NFL history. He has more than Michael Jordan and LeBron. And I know it's completely different sports, but in basketball, when you're playing on a field, you're much more. There's only 5 players in the court as opposed to 11, and you really just look at a couple of different scenarios. Like Brady could easily have 4 or 5. I mean, you take away the Malcolm Butler interception, a couple other things that they got very very close to losing the games. He wouldn't have quite as many, but at the same time, you can kind of make this case for the Giants beating them with the David Tyree catch as well. But I wouldn't say Tom Brady is the GOAT of all the GOATs. To me, this might be kind of, I mean, this is way, way back. I'm going to take Babe Ruth. I mean, I'm not really a big baseball guy. I used to follow it a lot, but not like I used to. But you look at some of his stats, and I mean, I know, like, I obviously didn't get to see him play, but I mean, you look at his, average. I mean, his average is phenomenal. His hits and his home runs, one of the top home run hitters of all time. I mean, there were seasons he had more home runs than other teams had in a season. And I know comparing baseball to 100 years ago is a lot different from comparing to NFL right now. But I mean, definitely Tom Brady, I would put him in my top 5, possibly top 3 if he won another Super Bowl. But to me, I mean, I think the hype's a little too much right now. I would have to give it to Babe Ruth. So, I mean, we kind of talked about the Super Bowl preview a little bit. We talked about Tom Brady. We talked about, teams who can maybe compete for the Chiefs and the Buccaneers for their respective, conferences for them to, not go back to the Super Bowl next season. So, can you tell some of our listeners they can follow you on social media?
Yeah, so I have an Instagram page, Shawn_Kiernan. I have some of my content out on there. And there's a link to like more of my radio stuff on that, which is on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Yeah, make sure to go follow Shawn. I'll put a link in the description for his, Instagram and his podcast as well. Make sure to go follow me on the ticker thing, below. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time on the Sports Stu Hine Show.